So I wanted to quit my business. True story. Oh, the's an eyelash in here. Do you think that's good luck? Like we do. And if you are feeling stuck or overwhelmed, or like you want to quit your business, you can probably relate to this story. So I would say when I first started my business, wanting to quit was probably a weekly thing. I just couldn't figure out how it was all going to come together, like how I was going to be able to find my people, how I was going to be able to make enough money, just how big picture I couldn't see it because I was so just starting out, so new. And so pretty much every week I would have a meltdown. And if you follow me on social media, you've probably heard the story of me crying on my kitchen floor, eating mint chocolate chip ice cream, dairy free by So Delicious, the best flavor ever. And just feeling like I wanted to throw in the towel. Well, what you might not know is last year I wanted to quit my business again, and I was very serious about it. So if you are feeling the same way, I think you're really going to like this video. I think it's going to be really helpful. I wanted to quit and my husband wouldn't let me. Peter wouldn't let me. So I'm going to bring him in here. We'll plop him right here and find out why he didn't want me to quit, why he said I couldn't. But I want to explain why I wanted to quit in case you can relate and just to kind of give you some backstory. So the reason that I wanted to quit was it was a year ago and I had just went through a big identity shift. And the way that I was running my business, how I was operating was no longer in alignment for me. I was on coaching calls nonstop. I was running a team of 7. I was doing ads. I was reviewing things constantly. I think one thing that a lot of people don't tell you about business when you're getting started. It's like, oh, spend $500 and you can make $5,000. Like, work smarter by having like ads run for you. But what they don't tell you is you're having to pay money for those ads, and you're having to review them all, go through them all, update them, rewrite them. At the time, I didn't really know how to manage a team and run a team. I had a hard time. So a lot of times things wouldn't get done and then I would just do them. Again, nothing against my team. It was more so me. Like, I just didn't have the skills. And I just hadn't done a lot of inner work. And so I'd done the inner work. I'd done a lot of healing. I realized that I no longer wanted to busy myself and fill my schedule all day. I realized that, making the most money, having the biggest team, working with the most amount of people was based on an ego perspective. It wasn't from my higher self. It wasn't from my soul. And so I really kind of distanced myself from that way of doing business. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So that was kind of confusing for me. I was like, wow, business is so masculine. And it really is. Like, business as a whole, it feels very masculine. And I was tapping into the feminine. I already have a lot of masculine energy. And so I was like, I want more feminine energy. Maybe what I need to do is I need to like host yoga retreats, on an island and be barefoot all the time. Can you relate? Maybe I need to write books about love and romance and healing. And so that was one reason. That was like part of it. The other part was I was experiencing Bell's palsy, and it was really hard for me to show up when I couldn't recognize myself, when I was like, who is that person? Like, where is her smile? What's going on? So it was really hard for me to show up. And at the end of the day, I think the main reason I wanted to quit was because of fear, right? It was because of fear of judgment, of, not knowing how to run my business if I wasn't going to operate in a masculine, forceful way, right? Like, all of that was kind of coming up at once. And so I was like, I'm out, I'm out. I'm going to go do something else. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to figure it out. So, that's to kind of give you a backstory. Obviously I didn't quit, and I'm so glad that I didn't quit, but I want to bring Peter in and we'll talk about, why he said no, like from his perspective, and then share some tips that I think will be really helpful if you are feeling stuck or feeling like you've been at it for a while without any success, because that can really wear you out. It can wear you down. You've got to get some wins going if you're going to stick with it. And how to know if it's time to pivot, if it's time to change. Maybe there is a different path for you. I used to say, like, everybody can be an entrepreneur. Everybody can have a business. And it's true, everybody can, but just because you can doesn't mean it's in your highest good. Doesn't mean that is the way for you to share your gifts that would be the most fulfilling and joyful and allow you to live your life purpose. So we will share some tips on how to find out if this is what you're supposed to be doing or if you're supposed to pivot. So let's go get them. Let's go get them. Okay, so I was telling them how I wanted to quit about a year ago and how you wouldn't let me.
So I know Sarah very well, right? We've been together since 2006.
18 years.
So 18 years, it's 2024 as we're recording this. So I know her very well. And she, every once in a while, business would be really hard. I think what she was talking about, she was going through this big identity shift, and she was really being challenged, and the business had shifted so much from what we had been doing before. And I was just like, not buying it, I just wasn't sold. I wasn't convinced, I think that a lot of partners aren't very supportive, when it comes to their spouse or their partner building a business, because most of the time you're not making money for a really long time, and you have to invest. You're buying equipment, you're buying courses, and you're just spending lots and lots and lots of hours. And for me, I was working with her, but I know Sarah, myself aside, I know Sarah, and this is what she's supposed to be doing. She really shines and thrives when she's helping other women with their businesses and their confidence and helping them do the inner work required so that they can get better results in their life. And a lot of times when it comes to business, you really need to work on those things inside of yourself, because business is, it's an extension, it's an expression of you and your gifts, right? So like this idea of like building a business is more so, it's like that is how you're showing up in the world, And so for Sarah, I just knew this is what she's supposed to be doing. It was just very challenging. And so I think we all need a cheerleader from time to time, somebody that says, hey, yeah, I know this is really hard right now, but I think you're on the right track,
Yeah. Yeah. So in this video, we're here to say, like, if this is what you want to do, like your spiritual coaching business, that's what you want to do, like you can be successful with it. It can work. There is always a solution, but maybe it's not what you're supposed to do too. For us, we just want you to know that no matter what, like you're taken care of, and there is something that will completely fulfill you that you can tap into. I think so many times now, like for me personally, when somebody's like, you have to do this or you have to do this, I kind of get turned off from it, because it's like, well, I don't have to do anything. Like we have endless opportunities. So we want to share today like some tips to kind of help you figure out like, okay, do I keep moving forward with this? Did I just need some motivation, or do I need to change or pivot a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go for it.
So the first thing is, what do you really want? That is a question that you can journal on, that you can think about, right? Like, what is it that you really want to be doing, to be offering, to be sharing? Like, what is lighting you up the most right now? When it came to me quitting, when I was like, I'm going to quit my business, I literally couldn't think of anything else I would rather be doing. Like, I would throw ideas, maybe I'll do this. Like I was telling you guys, maybe I'll teach retreats or write a book. And I was like, at the end of the day, like, I just want to coach and help people and create programs and share my gifts and help other people help others. Like, this is what I love doing. It's what I wake up excited about. There's nothing else I would rather be doing. So it became very clear when I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. If you ask yourself that question of what do I really want? And you're like, well, I don't really want this. I did want it. Well, that is a major indicator of like, yeah, I think you need to check in, right? And the sooner you do that, the more time you're going to save, right? Because we all know, like, when something's not working, I mean, it's not going to continue. It's not just going to all of a sudden start working necessarily, right? If you're like, I just really love what I'm doing, right? So we're talking about coaching specifically, right? Really love coaching people, really love helping people in that capacity. So for you, it's a question of, is it the coaching part? Are you working with people? Have you worked people? Do you have clients? Have you ever had clients? Is there a way that you can start helping people even more, right? Make it easier for people to work with you. Or do you just not like how you're working with people? Or do you feel like maybe you've changed, you've gone through a shift yourself, and now you're feeling more inclined to do something else? Or maybe you want to do something that you've always kind of wanted to do, but you just never had a lot of confidence to be able to step into. All things to really consider.
Yeah. I was thinking about doing a post on my identity shift and like navigating that. So when Peter was saying like, oh, maybe you've changed, if you're interested in that, just comment below. Like, oh, I'd be curious to hear about like the inner work you did and the identity shift. Cause I think that it's not really talked about a lot, like how challenging that can be to be like, wait, this is who I thought I was. This is who like I thought I was supposed to be. And actually that's not who I am. Like it's really crazy. So I'm happy to do a video on that. Okay, one thing that Peter was saying also that I wanted to touch on was the coaching. And a lot of times, so I run group programs, I work with a lot of coaches, and a lot of times the coaches really like helping people, but it's the marketing that they don't like, or like they haven't been taught how to do it in a way that feels good, which is something that I teach. So one thing that I always encourage my students is to actually start coaching people and helping people and working with people as soon as possible, because it's so different when you're actually working and engaging with people. I think a lot of times coaches, they get certified and then they're spending all this time on social media, or they're teaching at workshops, like once a month, and then they're spending all this time on social media. And if you can start working with people sooner and get that experience, you'll see like, oh, I really like this. You'll learn a lot. So I would also check in with that. Another thing is some people don't like being their own boss, which is kind of crazy to me, right? Because honestly, I have boss energy. Like I just do. Some people don't. Some people like working on a team. Some people I've had a lot of students, and some of them they're like, I need a buddy. I need a buddy. And I think it's important to know, what do you need to feel supported in your pursuit of sharing your gifts, in your coaching, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I like that. For me, I have a hard time working for other people, but I also don't consider myself to have boss energy. For me, I like working part of a team, so I wouldn't be a coach by myself. I don't think, honestly, I think my lifetime, I think there's a reason why Sarah and I are together. I think there's a reason why we've been together for as long as we are. And I think that the way that our relationship works, especially in terms of business, I think that's why I'm here. So for you, you might not be thinking like, oh, I want to be doing this as a business myself. I don't want to. Well, that's something to consider, because we've known lots of people that are coaches and then they work for another company. But so if you really love coaching, but you don't want your own business.
Yeah. And I think there used to be kind of like this, I don't know if I would call it like a stigma, but just kind of like this vibe where it was like, coaching on your own, running your own business is the best. And it's like, we've shifted out of that. There's no such thing as the best. They're all just options. And at the end of the day, we want to be happy. We want to be using our soul's gifts, we want to be growing. There's no such thing as if you're doing this, you're better than this or this. It's like, no, we don't do that anymore. It's 2024. That is so 2000.
Yeah, it's what do you need to be supported to do what you're supposed to be doing right now? Because if you're trying to do it by yourself and you're just like, I really don't like this, I don't like anything about it. It's like, well, then if your work feels really good, it's like, how can you do that work in another capacity? And then just go with whatever kind of ideas and inspirations come to you, right? Because your higher self is always trying to help you out.
Yeah. So then the next thing is, you can't need it to work. And
got to take the pressure off.
Yep. And I know that it's it's like a business. It needs to support me. But I kind of think about that as this desperate, controlling lack energy. It's not the energy of abundance. It's not the energy of I'm taken care of. It's not the energy of I'm excited to do this, right? And when you have that energy of lack and desperation, like you're just going to get more of that. And so really stepping into, this is what I'm called to do. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I want to do. I know it will work, right? More than I need it to work, I know it will work, and I'm not attached to how or when that will happen. I remember when we were early in our coaching days, I had this kind of like click where I kind of figured it out. I was like at home working and just like trying to make it all work, like trying to get clients, like how's it going to come together? How's it going to come together? And I remember a girlfriend who's also a coach was like, hey, do you want to get lunch? And I was like, no, like I can't get lunch. There's no way. And then something, yourself, hello, was like, go get lunch. You can get lunch. And I went and I got lunch. And then the client that I was like hoping would signed up while I was at lunch. And it just kind of clicked. And then after that, I had so many moments where I could tell when I had released the need to have it work, to have the client sign up, to have, the brand sign a contract. Like when I released the need for it all to come together, it came together.
Yes. Yes. It's some of the hardest work that we have to do, is to just be in the moment and to just release the future, release like what you think you need. You need to find a way to get yourself relaxed, right? And if you're just like, if you really need the money, then maybe you need to find another way to get some money coming in so that you really can be relaxed, right? You need to be supported, right? Find a way to get supported. And like what Sarah was saying, like going to lunch, it's like she was able to go to lunch. She was able to just be in that moment and say, hey, you know what? I can take a break. I can afford to go and get some lunch. So I'm going to go, and I'm choosing to just step away from this. And all of a sudden she released her grip, right? And then she could kind of like move back from it and allow it to just come to her, right? Because we can't control like some of the things that are going to be in our best interest, right? I think that a lot of us who grew up really like having this programming of like being in control. And what you realize is like you actually need to release control to have amazing things happen, because amazing things have a hard time happening when you're so controlling of it, because your control is coming from what your brain is familiar with. So like everything that you can bring into your life is limited to what you have in your brain. But when you release, now you're allowing basically like the universe, your higher self, other people to just kind of help you bring what you're focusing your attention on. And so, just being able to relax and not needing it to happen. Yes.
That's a big one. The other one that we wanted to share was your heart has to be in it, especially with coaching businesses. People can feel that energy. If you're like, I could take it or leave it with this client, with this offer, with this, I just feel like I need to post something today. So I just threw that up there. It's like, they're going to pick up on that. It's not the vibe. Phoning it in. You can't do that with your own business. It doesn't work. This is not a regular job. We can't phone it in. And I've even seen this with clients over the years where they pick a focus for their coaching and they pick it based on what they see somebody else having success with or what feels safe. This is a big one, the safety. And I spot it instantly with clients where they're telling me their story, what they've been through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, you have so much to offer. Wow. I'm like, so what are you thinking you want to start with? Like, what do you want to put out there? And then they say something completely different that has nothing to do with like their story or what they've been through or anything. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. What about this? And they're like, oh, I could never share that. I could never do that, And I'm always like, of course, like it's fine, right? You get to do whatever you want. But eventually, most of the time, my students come around, they're like, I want to do this. And then they do it. And then they get the clients, the success, the fulfillment that they desire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was just thinking about how important it is to really question the ideas that you have, where it's like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, Sarah can have a conversation with you, and then all of a sudden you revert to all these ideas that you had before that conversation. It's like, be here now.
That's good.
What's coming up right now? right? Exclude everything else, right? Because all of your best insights are happening like right in the present, you know?
That's another thing too, coming back to like not being attached. And this was really hard for me to learn because when we first started, we had a nonprofit and it was working and then we didn't want to do it anymore. But I was attached because I was like, oh, but it's working. It's growing. I said I was going to do this. So I need to keep, but I didn't actually want to do it anymore. And I also see this with my students where they'll have all this stuff they worked on before they met me and before we're doing this deep inner work. And so then they're like, oh, but what about all this stuff? And I'm like, well, it has nothing to do with everything you just said you wanted to do, but I already created it, but I already have it, but I already set it up, right? And the thing that is so amazing is how much you can grow, how much traction you can get when you're unattached, when you release the old and you're like, this is what I want right now. I'm ready to go. Show me how good it can get.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I like that. I just thought of this theme for this topic. Are you running away from what you were doing, or are you stepping into what's next?
Yeah.
And if you are like 99% of coaches, you will evolve, right? You will. As you move through life, have new life experiences, you grow, you're evolving. It's that is so natural. We have changed like 6 or 7 times, but we're always stepping into that next thing. We're never running away from what we were trying to do before just because it was hard. Because we know there's a difference between, is it hard or is it
out of alignment?
Is it out of alignment? Is it not what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel like the more you can tap into that, and those who do the inner work and are spiritual, like, you know what we're talking about, you can feel it. It's a difference, right? Like, I can tell when it's like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing versus fear. When I wanted to quit my business, like, it was fear, right? Like, it was fear. It was confusion. I knew that this was the path forward and this is what I was supposed to be doing. And there's been so many times in our business where things have been working and great, but I'm like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. I can't do it, so closing down memberships, closing down programs because it doesn't feel right. And, even for me, like, my ego would be like, oh, but like, they're not changing. They're not shifting. They're doing the same thing over and over again. And that like sounds so nice. But my higher self, also my cheerleader, would always chime in and be like, that's not your path. You're on your own path. Keep going. So I'd be like, noted. Let's keep going.
Yeah. One other thing that I had thought about is maybe you are feeling like you want to be posting more about yourself and being more vulnerable, but it feels like you just kind of want to avoid that, right? Those are Sarah's like biggest breakthroughs with her clients, is getting them to a place where they're comfortable really just being authentically themselves and not trying to be like the other coaches out there. And so if you're like, oh, like, I feel like I should be doing this, but I'm really scared. That's totally normal. But just know that once you do that, it's just a little bit easier the next time. That's what people really connect with, is when you are being yourself. And so that is you stepping into a higher version of yourself, rather than running away from, what your ego is afraid of and it feels outside of its comfort zone.
Yeah. If that's you, leave a comment and let us know, like, what comes up for you when it comes to sharing your story and what you've been through and who you want to help, what you really want to do in terms of posting works. Like Peter's saying, that is very common, but that is what people really resonate with and will really appreciate, honestly. And like, it's so crazy. I think I was telling Peter this yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, actually, how when my clients stop trying to copy others or kind of fall in line with their conditioning, it's like they're a completely different person. Like, I saw a client the other day doing something where I thought, oh, she thinks she has to do this. And I was like, wow, she's showing up here in this like corporate setting way differently than on our calls. Like when we're on our calls and she's talking about the work that she does in the world, she's like a light beam. Like I'm just like, you're just like sending all this powerful energy. I can feel it. I'm attracted to you. But then I was watching this other thing she was doing and I was like, who is that? Like, I cannot know that person. Like, I do not know that person. She was like shy and timid. And I was like, that is so fascinating. Right. And that's how it comes across with the people you're here to share your gifts with. When you're really tapped into that, they're magnetized to you versus when you're hiding and you're in your conditioning, they're like, I don't see her. What's going on?
Yes.
It's very different.
Yeah, we're all becoming very sensitive to energy, and we feel like we can connect with people, and like we barely even know who they are, but like you can just sense it in their energy, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you see somebody and you're like, oh yeah, like they're trying to do this, but it's not in alignment with what they're supposed to be doing. Like maybe you don't know what they're supposed to be doing, you know, but they're clearly not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the power of being yourself. You know, are you being yourself? You know? Yeah.
So good. Okay. So another thing that we wanted to share is investing in yourself and your business, because there is so much to learn when it comes to running a business. And most of us, myself included, we think there's all this information online. I'm smart. I remember thinking that a lot at the beginning. I'm smart. I can figure this out. How hard can it be? This person's doing this. Let me just do that. But there's so much that happens behind the scenes, for one. And there's so much that happens once you're actually taking action and doing it that it's really hard to figure it out on your own. You'll just learn so much. Like I remember us like seeing what other people were doing in our business. We're like, oh, let's do that. But then we didn't have any of the back end strategy, right? We're like selling these low ticket offers. And then it's like, well, we don't have the upsells. We don't know how to do this or do that. And so there's just so much with business that you have to learn. And it's totally normal. So don't think like a lot of people will come to us and be like, I already bought this course, you know, so now I'm done. I'm like, we've bought lots of courses, lots of coaching, and I'm sure we will continue to buy things when it's in alignment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I was just thinking about is how if you come across something and you're like, I really want to be doing this. This just feels like it'd be such a great fit, but you see the price and you're just like, I just can't do that. Honestly, I encourage you, whoever it is, reach out to them and just say, hey, I really want to do this. Right. But, you know, can you work with me on the price?
Yeah.
And you could propose some things too. Honestly, business owners love that, you know, because I mean, you would like that too. If somebody's like, hey, I really want to work with you. It's like, you know, being able to work with each other to make it happen. Yeah. And there really is so much power when you do invest in these things. Cause like Sarah was saying, like you only get so much with the paid.
You mean without the paid?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, with the free stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the free stuff. And you know, honestly, I think that we could all save a lot of money if the free stuff was like, you know, we were able to really get like these amazing results from it. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. You know, when you're really moving through a growth period, by spending money, however much it is, and it doesn't have to be a lot even, but by spending at least some money, all of a sudden you're a lot more committed. And we've seen over the years, we've given programs to people that had done other programs. And so we would gift them like another one, or somebody would win like a giveaway. And then we would get those people that didn't actually pay money. They usually aren't as committed and they don't get as good of results. I've
shown this on social media, where one thing that you can do, like you might not know this, but like when you have courses and programs, you can see how many times people log in. And so I've shown like 3 people that we gave a free course to, and 2 of them, 0 logins. One of them was 1 login, versus the people who are making a lot of money, helping people. 289 logins, 300 logins. You know what I mean? Like they're just a little bit more committed. And again, this is not always the case, right? But the majority, what we're seeing, the pattern, that is usually how it goes. So I think like Peter was saying, like reaching out, I've had clients over the years be like, I really want to do this. I'm going to start saving for it. And I would be like, awesome. Like when you're ready, I am here, And so there's lots of different things that you can do. Because I know not everyone always has the money to invest. And there is a lot of good free information out there, but I always say just be aware, because sometimes too much information can cause you to feel overwhelmed and kind of spinning, right? Going into, I tried this and I tried this, and everybody has kind of like a different approach to running a business. And so if you're trying like lots of different approaches at once, you might not see the results that you want. So 10 years ago, I wanted this life that we have now. And to be honest, it took longer than I thought it was going to take, but I had to keep pivoting and changing and adjusting as I went along. And now I'm here, and I don't regret it. I don't say, oh, I wish it would have happened sooner. I'm just happy that it happened. So if you know that this is what you're meant to do, if you're supposed to run a coaching business, then I would say just evaluate and see, are there little pivots? Is there anything from this video that you're taking away that you could kind of shift into, right? And just know that keep going. If there's nothing you'd rather be doing, then check in with the tips we shared and let us know which of them spoke to you in the comments. And remember, you are always taken care of. Okay, bye friend.